Emirates. So let's break it all down. Welcome back to All About Arsenal. Tonight we're going to cook the full preview for the Arsenal versus Brentford game. We had such an amazing week last week playing Tottenham in North London Derby where Emirates did the Lord's work with did an amazing hat trick. We also had the all important clash in the Champions League against Bayern Munich where our lads turned up and the Emirates was basically buzzing. And of course, last weekend we had the game against Chelsea in Stamford Bridge. Red card to Caicedo, well deserved. But I think the player just had a lethargic vibe about them, and Chelsea were really up for it. But at the end of the day, if you're giving me 2 wins and a draw, irrespective of the order, I would have taken it. But the other side, Chelsea is out of the way. Brentford is coming to town, and this is a game that we need to win. This is actually a very big one. In London Derby, high pressure fixture, and a test of Arsenal's depth with injuries stacking up. The injuries are getting out of hand. Like each passing game we play, they tend to be under injury that comes up. But come on, we have the depth to manage this. So let's just break it all down. So looking at Arsenal's form, we come into this game sitting on top of the Premier League with an excellent run of results and the strongest defense in the season so far. Arsenal has had a lot of wins stacking up. At some point, we had 8 clean sheets on the bounce, which was actually a record before losing it against Sunderland. But the form has been amazing. We are deservedly where we are supposed to be currently, which is at the top of the Premier League table. And, with the games coming thick and fast, we need to get more victories. The Emirates itself has been a fortress. Arsenal's record in the Champions League, I think it's since started the group phase has been 10 games, 29 wins, 1 goal conceded, or some crazy stat like that. But we are unbeaten at home. We basically control every match from start to finish. However, our main talking point remains injuries. Kai Havertz looked to come back from, his long-term injury he suffered when he played against Manchester United in August. But unfortunately, according to the words of German coach Julian Nagelsmann, he suffered a setback. Gabriel Magalhaes obviously suffered that injury while playing for Brazil against Senegal. That one still irks me till today, but I've come to terms with it. I think this is groin or thigh or adductor muscle. Of course, we have the most recent ones. Leandro Trossard pulling up short to the Bayern Munich game. And he was a very, very close player that was missed in the Chelsea game. Trossard is that kind of guy that gives us those high output goals. Obviously, he was injured. So we tried Martinelli against Chelsea. I would have to also cut Martinelli some slack because he's also coming from an injury as well. Then most recently, we've also lost William Saliba to an injury. We don't even know the type of injury, in all honesty. But Saliba has been out, and in the game against Chelsea, we had to use a combination we have tried just once in the Carabao Cup against Brighton with Piero Hincapié and Christian Mosquera playing together for the very first time in the Premier League. And they actually did well. Yes, they received early bookings and all that, but they kind of showed some level of maturity. I know the things would have been a whole lot different if it was Gabriel and Saliba that played against Chelsea. But obviously, we had Hincapié and Mosquera, and they did very well. And I'm also happy about the fact that we have such a large squad to rotate players. That was the essence of all the signings we made. Despite these injuries that Arsenal is having right now, the mentality remains strong. And start spoken about us hunting like animals and showing intensity. So I expect a very serious and controlled Arsenal performance. The lads are very good at home. We are on top of the league, have a 5-point cushion against Man City. Although Man City scored just recently against Fulham, and I expect them to probably win that game. So going into the game against Brentford might just be a 2-point gap. Obviously, we'll have to, get 3 points to take it back to 5. Arsenal's home form has been nothing short of the word excellent. All the games we have played at home, we've won all of them, except the game against Man City where we drew 1-1. I've been unbeaten in the Emirates this season. It's understandable. Defensively, it's no longer news. Arsenal are the best in the league. Only 7 goals conceded all season. As for availability, I've spoken about Havertz, Gabriel, Saliba, and Trossard. But we're adaptable. We have the depth, and I believe Arsenal has enough in the tank to see out the threat of Brentford. The lads are in good form, in front of their own crowd, and I'd expect the Gunners to cook in the game against Brentford. Well, to Brentford, Arsenal has to be very wary of the threat that Igor Thiago is going to pose. In 13 games so far, he has scored 11 goals, even if 5 have been penalties. But come on, it's what you see in front of you that you take. And obviously, he has been a very good penalty taker, even though he has missed one. And I'm really happy for the lad because, when Ivan Toney left, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons ago, he was signed to replace Ivan Toney, but, he suffered that terrible knee injury that sidelined him for basically the entire campaign. And they also had Johan Wissa, who was in very good form. So even when he came back from injury, he could not stop ahead of Wissa. But thankfully for someone like Igor Thiago, Wissa actually left to Newcastle. And right now he's like an Igor Thiago because as he has gone to Newcastle, he has not even played any game for them yet. Suffering a very terrible, I think the knee injury or so. But Brentford, their form is quite mixed. 2 wins and 2 defeats in the last 4 games. Their away record has been very shambolic, and I'm sure Arsenal players will be licking their lips in the situation of this game. Brentford has suffered 5 defeats in their last 6 away matches, and they are very, very, and they have serious difficulty defending against top sides in the Premier League. The shipping goals when they go under sustained pressure. But offensively, they still pose a threat. We're speaking about Igor Thiago being the standout danger man, very strong, very direct, always looking for space in behind. But the team is quite clean in terms of yellow cards, red card. They don't really have much suspensions. They don't really have much injuries. So they will go into this game with basically their best squad and their fittest squad. Historically, they struggled against Arsenal at the Emirates, but last season when they came to town, it was a 1-1 draw. I think Thomas Partey scored for us. Then I think we did an equalizer. This was that same period when we were trying to juggle between the Premier League and the Champions League, and I think that's what's the word to use? His preference at that point in time with the Champions League because we're so far behind Liverpool in the Premier League campaign. So these were among the games we're ready to actually let go of now Champions League struggles and all that, even though we fell short in the semi-final stage. So the away from remains a concern. I spoke about how they've lost 5 of the last 6 games. But Brentford is a mid-table side at best. It's what you should expect from them. But one thing we need to know is that they would want to, soak in pressure, keep a low block as teams do when they come to the Emirates and try to hit on the break, on transitions. A couple of frailties that they do have, but I think I would expect Arsenal to have more than enough to tackle the threat that Burnley will pose. Now let's talk about Brentford, sorry, not Burnley. Let's talk about the predicted lineups. Yes, we have Vitor Gyökeres back. I'm happy about that. Yes, we have Donny Madueke back. Yes, we have our captain Martin Odegaard back. But I don't expect all of them to come into the fray. I would expect Raya to still remain in goal. Kepa Arrizabalaga is a very good goalkeeper, but it will take a while before he can play for us again. I'm guessing the game against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup, that's where he probably will feature. In defense, Ricardo Calafiori got a half-time sub. He was targeted by the Chelsea back attack in that game, and he got a yellow card early. So he has had well enough rest for this game. Yes, it's been nice to have Miles Lewis-Kelly into the fray. I wouldn't mind Miles Lewis-Kelly in a game like this, though, but I think Nkapie will be the one that probably get the nod. No, I think Calafiori will be the one that probably get the nod instead of Lewis-Kelly. Right back, obviously, Ben White has found games hard to come by because of the amazing form of Julian Timber, and White will have to still, wait for his chance before getting it. And obviously, when he comes in, I'm sure he wants to do well. I don't think Saliba will be fit enough to play this game. He's someone that has suffered an injury that we were not even aware of. It was a knock going into the game against Chelsea. So I'd expect Hinkapie and Mosquera to play again. They are both young, they are both energetic. They both want to stake a claim for first team football in the club. So I believe that this is an opportunity for them to play in a much calmer environment compared to what happened when they were playing against Chelsea. You know, and it's something that will be good for them as well. In midfield, I would expect to see Declan Rice and Martins Zubimendi in the center of the pack. But I believe Arsenal's captain Martin Odegaard should be fit to start this game ahead of them. You probably play in the right eight position with Declan Rice in the left eight, whereas Mendy holds. And this could potentially see Iberici is a move to the left to step ahead of Gabriel Martinelli. Trossard, I don't think he's going to be fit for this game. On the right hand side, we have Bukayo Saka. He's someone that is in need of, a, like more output. Saka is doing well, but it was quite shocking to know that his last Premier League assist before the one he gave to Merino was November 2024. Obviously, he has had his own injury issues to contend with as well. Up front, Merino has done very well in Gyökeres' absence. I don't know whether Gyökeres would just come into the team immediately. I'm thinking maybe he might be odds on to play against Aston Villa on the weekend. But Merino might start this game and Gyökeres can probably come in the second half just to get more minutes under his belt. To Brentford, Calvin Kelleher will be in goal, as always. The dangerous Michael Kayode and his long throws. It's so that Arsenal has to be very mindful of in the entire game. I'm sure on the left hand side and the right hand side, you want to punt in those balls into the danger area when you have the long throw. You're one of the best long throwers in the business. Basically, a player that Rory Delap will be proud of. Then, of course, on the left hand side, we'll have Aaron Hickey. Rico Henry is still, even when he came back from his long-term ACL injury, I don't think I've been able to nail down a first team bet. And Hickey has been ahead of him. In centre back, the captain, Nathan Collins, will play alongside Seb Vandenberg. Obviously, they will still do want to use the experience of Jordan Henderson, who will play alongside Matthias Jensen. Further up the pitch, you have the skillful Mikel Damsgaard, while Kevin Schade and Django Utara will be on the flanks. And certainly Thiago will be the one leading the line. I would expect him to want to bulldoze his way against the likes of Hinkapie and Mosquera. But I'm sure the Arsenal defenders will have enough in the tank to see how the threat that Thiago can pose. To key tactical battles, I would expect Arsenal's wide play against Brentford's fullbacks. Kayode will lock horns against Eze. Hickey will lock horns against Saka. That will be an interesting battle. Saka has the speed and the combination play to stretch Brentford's defense. Timber doesn't overlap as well as Ben White, even though I still agree that he's a better overall player than the Englishman. So we have to see how that pans out. One v ones. I don't know how Brentford will be able to deal with it, but I believe that Arsenal players, will have a very, very tumultuous time for them, especially someone like Saka, who is very, very intelligent as a footballer. You saw how he cooked Cucurella times and times without number, even made him get a yellow card, and would expect that to continue. In midfield, we would need Rice and Mendy to, be very alert because Brentford will want to hit on the break, hit on the transition. That will be a big test, Brentford love attacking from the spacing behind the defense, and that's where Igor Thiago comes to life. The right positioning and Mendy's ball retention will help us dictate tempo. Set pieces remains a challenge on both sides. Arsenal is the team that is renowned for set pieces. We're actually the highest scorers when it comes to set pieces. But Brentford is also a team that is very dangerous from set pieces. I think they're the one that scored the most goals from throw-ins or some crazy stat like that. So both teams will need to be focused, especially Arsenal. Being in mind that we're not going to be without Gabriel and Saliba in this game. You saw what happened in the game against Chelsea. We considered from a set piece. Timber failed to attack João Pedro well for that game, for the cross from Rhys James, and Mosquera was busy hugging Enzo rather than trying to attack the play. So Arsenal need to be very, very mindful of the set piece threat that Brentford would pose. But of course, Arsenal is good enough to actually challenge Brentford with dead balls. We have the likes of Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, lads that are very good, in creating chances from set pieces. And our routines are quite legendary right now. And I think, we should do enough to win our tactical battles in the game. So to my match predictions, the last time we played Brentford, it was a 1-1 draw, a goal from Thomas Partey. But as I rightly said, that was when we were trying to also contend with Champions League football. But right now, Arsenal is on top of the Premier League with a chasing pack with Man City, and we don't want to, give them a chance to, hit at us. So I'm guessing we should have a routine 2-0 victory, yeah, or thereabout. I would expect Arsenal to dominate play. We're the heavy favourites. Brentford have lost 5 of their last 6 away games, and this is the worst ground to come to. Our home dominance and our defensive structure should help us, to hold. Yes, Brentford will want to, hit us with the counter attacks, hit us with set pieces, but I don't think they will do enough to get anything less than a loss in this game. I'm being bullish and being confident as an Arsenal fan. I've seen us play who are home. I know how dominant we can be. So that's all for the match preview. What do you guys think about the game? What's your score prediction? Who's going to start? Who's going to score? Put your thoughts in the comments. And of course, thanks again for being part of me in this journey. 3,000 subscribers and rising. It's awesome to see how this channel has been growing with the support from you, my subscribers, and my fans, and my friends, and everyone that have been part of this journey. So tomorrow we're going to have a match reaction video. I might do a watch along, not too sure yet, but certainly the match reaction video will be very late because the game starts by 8:30 and it's going to finish by 10:30. So I probably have the match reaction video around 11, for us to just sit down, relax, cook, talk about how we destroyed Brentford, But don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, come on, you Gunners.